Hey guys, sorry it's been a while, but welcome back to my channel. Um, what I wanted to talk about today is something that a lot of people tend to do and they start thinking about as the summer gets closer to the end, and that is overwintering your tender perennials, what we treat as annuals in the Northern Hemisphere, bringing them in to overwinter them if you like them, especially if you have varieties that are not very common and you don't want to lose them because you don't know when you're going to get them again, if they'll be available. So, of course, my plant of choice is always Coleus, and I have a huge collection. But I wanted to show you exactly how I'm overwintering them. These guys are not only overwintering; these are houseplants, and that's something that I think people used to do is keep Coleus as houseplants, and I don't know why it's not as popular as it probably once was. I think they're great in the house, as long as you have a bright window or some, artificial lights. I use LEDs. They do extremely well. These are all under LEDs, and you can see the color that comes out and the vigor. At least the ones that have been settled, indoors for a while. But I think that it's something that should be considered for a lot of people because they just assume that they're outdoor annuals, bedding plants, plants for the garden. Yeah, I love them in planters. I love them outside. Of course, I have a whole bunch outside too, but I love them inside too. And they're so easy to propagate. They grow quickly. You can increase your plant collection very, very easily. So yeah, I just wanted to show you exactly what I do. All the ones that I keep indoors, well, I don't want to say all, but I'd say most of the coleus that I keep indoors are not in soil. Because, as if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that soil and I don't get along so well, especially in a grow space that doesn't have good circulation. There is a greater chance of root rot and dampening off and all that sort of stuff. But I grow mine in a couple of different substrates, but they're in semi-hydroponics, which is like a passive hydroponic setup. Most of them are in lava rock, like this one here. This is Coleus butterfly. Beautiful, beautiful plant. I love this. You can see the roots go crazy in the lava rock. It's been in here for, oh my God, I don't even know how long. Definitely a few months. You can see how crazy the root system is. Again, I give a hydroponic fertilizer. Just read the directions on the back. Usually it's something like, every fertilizer is different, but usually it's something like a teaspoon for a gallon of water. And then you just use that to water your plant. I don't use the fertilized water each time I water the plant. I do it maybe every 2 weeks or so, only because coleus don't need that much feed. They do pretty well even without anything for a while, as long as they have some good light. So I just fill up about an inch from the bottom with the nutrient or water if it's a water cycle. And I'd say every month, I flush out the lava rock. And because this is so solid with all the roots and everything, all I have to do is put this in the sink and let the water pour in. And I do have a drainage hole over here, and the excess water drains out of the hole. If you don't have a hole, just let the water pour out, but make sure none of the rock falls out. As the roots develop, they kind of anchor in all the lava rock. You can see these don't move. But the plants do really, really well, especially when they're root bound. So it's not like you have to keep sizing up the container and repotting. They do extremely well. As long as you maintain and keep the rocks clean, they Coleus love this setup. And I have taken so many cuttings off of this plant. I can't even tell you. This is really two plants that I'm starting to twine around each other. But I love Coleus so much. So that's one of them. Another one I have in something called Buddy Stone, which is kind of like it's recycled glass, so it's sustainable. I guess like bottles and other glass products that get recycled. They make it into this, grind it down into a fine powder and add a chemical to it that makes it bubble, I guess, and they heat it, and it makes what looks like and feels like really big perlite. It's It's very porous, and you can see the water at the bottom there. This is a fairly new cutting, and it's of the same plant, but you can see it does not have exposure to a lot of light, so there's not a lot of red or purple. But yeah, the buddy stone is really good because it wicks up moisture throughout, just like perlite does and lava rock. So that's another substrate that I use. This is Black Beauty. This is also in lava rock. Fairly new plant. It wasn't a cutting, it was a plant that I had gotten, but you could see the roots have already started to grow into the rock. They're very happy here. So that's going to be a beautiful, nice, full plant soon. Another one in lava rock here. Hasn't been for too long, but doing really well. Same thing with that one back there in lava rock. But let's move to a perlite Coleus. Here's one that's in perlite. And I just have a little bit of a reservoir because I don't like to not have a drainage hole when I'm using perlite, because if you don't and you fill it up with water, they're so light, those perlite particles, that they'll start to float and you'll have like a reservoir of water at the bottom, but then when that water gets used up, there'll be a big gap of air and it just causes problems. So I like to cut little slits in the bottom of the cup and then have a little reservoir of whatever it is I have available. This happens to be another cup. And the plant's doing really well. I've taken some cuttings from this and it's already started to branch out a little bit. And so yeah, perlite works well as well. I also use leca, the lightweight expanded clay aggregate. People call it hydroton. I guess it depends on where you get it. But I don't have any examples right here. I should have thought of that. But same situation with the leca. I use the plastic cup method, and I have a drainage hole like I have here, and I just fill it up. Leca tends to float more than lava rock does. Lava rock has a little bit more of a dense quality to it, so I prefer lava rock, and I always say that. And it's also cheaper and easier to come by where I live. But that's it. I just wanted to show you guys. To do this, if you're going to overwinter your plants, you could either dig up your Coleus, clean off the roots, well, you don't have to remove all the soil, but clean off the roots. And if you're going the soil route, then get some fresh indoor potting soil because it doesn't retain too much moisture, which would create root rot. Specifically indoor potting soil, and put it in a pot. Now, I wouldn't recommend putting it in a large pot, only because that's just another way to get root rot, because the more soil, the longer it takes to dry out, and you really don't want that for an indoor plant. If you're not going to go the soil route, you're going to go a semi-hydro or passive hydro route like I do, which I adore. It's just so easy. I definitely recommend getting lava rock, buddy stone if you can, leca, perlite, any of these substrates. My personal preference has always been lava rock, and I think you can see the results here, and it kind of speaks for itself why I prefer lava rock. Plants are very healthy. It keeps the root zone, even when it drinks up all the water, it keeps it nice and damp, so the roots don't die and they don't get root pruned or air pruned, whatever you call it. So that's my recommendation from my experience. I love lava rock, and all the plants that I have in lava rock have done extremely well. Look at this Coleus. This one's huge. This one's a little bit too big to be on this table, but it's in lava rock. See it back there. So yeah, what you're going to do is, if you're going the semi-hydro route, you can either dig up the plant, clean off all the roots, very, very well though, run them under the sink so that they're as clean as you possibly can get the roots, and then you prepare your substrate, lava rock, leca, buddy stone, or perlite, whatever it is that you're going to use. Prepare it. Make sure you rinse it out, because a lot of times they have a lot of like dust and sand in there. And then you bury your roots into the substrate. And if you're using lava rock, let's just say for argument's sake you are, you bury your roots in there. And I would definitely make a drainage hole, I'd say about halfway up the cup. This way you're going to fill each time just an inch, but if you overfill, you can always just pour a little bit out through that drainage hole. You don't have to hold all the substrate down and pour it out. So that's why I recommend a drainage hole just like a halfway up the cup. Another way you can do this with semi-hydro is take cuttings. It's a great way that I do my propagations. You take your cutting. I would recommend having 2 leaf nodes on the cutting, so you can have one towards the top with the growing tip, and then one a little bit lower. You're going to make your cut below that node. Coleus roots all along the stem, but there is a greater concentration of rooting hormone within the plant at the nodes, so it definitely will help you get the cutting to root. So I would definitely take your cutting with at least 2 nodes and a growing tip, and then you do the same situation with cleaning out your substrate, and then place it in the substrate, in the lava rock, leca, or whatever it is that you're using, and fill the water a little higher. And this is where that hole halfway up definitely helps, because now you're not going to just fill it up an inch. You're going to fill it up right to where that drainage hole allows you to. And chances are the tip of your cutting will be either submerged, just the tip of it, in the water, or it'll be very close to it so that the wicking action will be surrounding moisture around the cutting. And then you just make sure that you keep the plant in a humid environment. You could either put a dome over it, a bag, something like that, or you can cut the leaves in half if it has a lot of leaves. Definitely remove the lower leaves, but if it does have other leaves, you can either trim some of the leaves off or cut them in half so that it doesn't lose too much moisture while it's trying to grow some roots, and you should be fine. Coleus grows roots, I'd say in about 4 days, 5 days, you'll start to see root growth, and within a week to 2 weeks, you'll start to see the roots starting to grow down into that reservoir in the bottom, and then eventually, after a few months, you'll have something beautiful like this. This is root porn at its best. And the plants thrive like this. As long as you give them nice light, you can give them hydroponic feed. I don't recommend giving regular fertilizer for potted plants because they require other either chemicals or organisms in the soil to break down certain elements that can then be accessible to the plant. So that's why I always say hydroponic fertilizer is the best for anything that's in lava rock or buddy stone, leca, all that sort of stuff. So definitely it would be good to look into that where you can get a hold of fertilizer like that. Otherwise, that's it. If you have any questions, obviously, leave in the comments. I will get back to you because I always do. And I really think that this is such a beautiful way to, beautify your home all year long, not just in the winter, but definitely a great way to overwinter your plants and keep a little bit of tropical feeling in summer in your home in the winter. If you have not subscribed, please do, because we always talk about fun stuff here with plants. I say we, but I mean me. If you have not, I already said that. And thanks for watching, and share with your friends, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next video.